Quick update, by the time this video airs, sadly Erling Haaland and Norway have already been eliminated from the World Cup. That being said, what they did at the World Cup was truly remarkable, just like this video. Every World Cup you get the most amazing storylines and breakout stars that captivate the imagination of the world. This World Cup, that breakout star would have to be Erling Braut Haaland. The towering 6'5" striker hails from the frosty north of Yorkshire. Erling Haaland was born in 2000 in the town of Leeds, United Kingdom. Despite the fact that casual fans will know him mostly from his heroics with the Norwegian national team, Haaland was actually born in England, as his father, Erling Haaland, also a professional footballer, was playing in England at the time. Haaland Sr. was part of the last Norwegian national team to compete in the 1998 edition of the World Cup, and Erling himself began his youth career in Norway, so naturally he chose to represent the country of his heritage. Quick side note on this, if you didn't know before, when you Google Erling Haaland right now, you get a very cute animation of the Viking row celebration that pops up on the page. But if you Google Martin Ødegaard, the captain of the national team, and the guy who actually leads the celebrations, it doesn't pop up, which is just mean. Now you don't need me to toot the horn of Erling Haaland. He has become an internet darling this World Cup with his memeable expressions and genuine character. He's also a goal-scoring phenom, which helps, having broken many goal-scoring records for club and country in recent years. What the casual football fan might not know is that outside of the World Cup, he plays for English Premier League side Manchester City, which is really the main topic of my video today. I'll be giving an overview of the controversies surrounding the team and discuss the big question that is the role of money in our modern beautiful game. Now, before we go on, full disclosure, I am a Manchester City fan. And before you judge me for that, let me explain myself. You see, I started watching football basically from the 2010 World Cup. My parents took me to Barcelona for the holidays one summer, where I got to see Messi at the Camp Nou too. So naturally, I'm a Barcelona fan. Problem was, most people where I live mainly watch the Premier League. So in order to discuss football with my mates, I had to pick a team in the Prem. This was around the 2012-13 season, and the thing you got to know about Asia is, basically 90% of the people here support one team out of Manchester United, Liverpool, Arsenal or Chelsea. So I looked at the top of the table, and I said, I don't want to be a normie. I'll go for the best team here, with a cool badge, and then nobody supports, which happened to be Manchester City. I was 12, okay? I didn't know about the controversies back then, and when you pick a team, you stick with it. Manchester City was first founded in 1880, but formally changed its name to City in 1894, which is the year officially recognized on the badge. So they're actually a fairly historic club. They had middling success over the years, having won 2 top-flight league titles and a few FA Cup trophies along the way, but also having been relegated a couple of times. Despite its history, by the turn of the 21st century, City was nowhere near the level of success or brand recognition as their neighbours Manchester United, or most of the big teams in England, really. Then its fortunes changed in 2008, when Manchester City was taken over by Sheikh Mansour of the United Arab Emirates. I'm not going to sugarcoat this. The injection of oil money from the Middle East meant that Manchester City was suddenly competing with the biggest clubs to sign the best talents. This included the much sought-after talents of Mario Balotelli, Sergio Aguero, David Silva, and Yaya Toure. Also getting top managers on board, such as Roberto Mancini and Manuel Pellegrini. It's a little bit difficult to explain how abnormal or out of the blue this was to non-football fans, but basically, Manchester City weren't really a team you would expect to be signing top talents back then. But a sudden injection of liquidity meant that they could afford to lure away some of the biggest stars with lots of money to play in a less established team. And the signing of these superstars then provided the foundations for City to build a competitive team around them and attract even more good players. Then, of course, came 2016, when City secured the signing of arguably the best manager to ever coach the sport in Pep Guardiola, who established the City dynasty of the past decade. You also had the superstar signings of Kevin De Bruyne, Raheem Sterling, Jack Grealish, and of course, Erling Haaland. At this point, you might be wondering, okay, it's another story of how money bought up the sport. What is there special to talk about here? In 2023, Manchester City were charged by the Premier League of having broken 115 rules regarding financial fair play. Now, those charges haven't been resolved yet, so Manchester City is not proven to be guilty. But even as a City fan, I would say that to some extent, I think whether or not City breached those charges doesn't really matter. I don't think any City fan would be blind enough to deny that the modern success of this club was built by oil money. The rules have been changed many times over the years, and I would argue that whether they have strictly speaking broken the rules doesn't really matter that much in the grand scheme of things. City's success was only possible because of the sudden large financial backing, and the fans of other teams have every right to think that that is unfair. But, here's where I wanted to take a look at the wider City project that has been going on. I think a lot of football fans will be very quick to dismiss Manchester City because of their dirty money. But I would like to point out that Chelsea, likewise, was a bang average club until being acquired by Vladimir Putin's close friend Roman Abramovich. Similar things have happened to many clubs around the world, including PSG and Newcastle. And when Manchester United fans or Arsenal fans complain about their owners and leadership, the really biggest request is that they require or they want to bring in richer investors who are willing to spend more on the club, such as Sir Jim Ratcliffe, who is also a very questionable person. Now, I'm not saying all this to defend City's financials or reputation. As a fan of the sport, I don't like the influence of money in all of it either. But I think it's worth taking a look at what City has actually done with that money. Manchester City generally does pretty good business. There have been lots of teams that waste the money they get, but City has mostly done good business, such as investing in players like Kevin De Bruyne and Rodri, and growing them to become some of the best players in the history of the Premier League. Also, of course, Erling Haaland, who was signed for £50 million in 2022. Which sounds like a lot, but trust me, it is extremely good value in today's football market. This is not to ignore misses such as Calvin Phillips, but City have also been good at buying and selling many players at a much higher value, such as Leroy Sané or Julian Alvarez. The Deloitte Football Money League constantly ranks Manchester City as one of the most profitable clubs in the world. City's academy has also been one of the best in modern times for raising young talent, with the likes of major title winners such as Phil Foden, Cole Palmer, Brahim Diaz, or recent breakout stars at the World Cup such as Felix Nmecha and Nico O'Reilly. It is also widely accepted that the team also generally has a very good atmosphere. The players are treated well. If players want to leave the club doesn't stop them. And the players get along with each other. City have also done brilliant work in investing in other fields. Their women's football team won the most recent edition of the Women's Super League title. And Manchester City Esports is also a constant contender for titles. On the pitch, I think it is even less controversial to say that City have played some of the most beautiful football in the world for the past decade under the leadership of Pep Guardiola. For a football fan, in general, watching City play is just much more entertaining than watching a team like Arsenal. Again, I fully recognize that all of this is only possible because they had the money to bring in the best executives and experts and get the whole thing off the ground with a shit ton of money before it became its own sustainable project. That's the central question of this video. I think most football fans and experts can agree that Manchester City have a genuinely well-run football project going on that was only made possible by what many would say is an unethical amount and source of money being dumped into the club in the first place, which poses the great dilemma at the heart of the sport. Football has become so commercialized and in some cases corrupt that in order to build a good project in the modern era, it's almost impossible unless you have a huge amount of capital to do it. As fans and people involved in the sport, of course, you will want to see well-run football projects being built and beautiful football being played. But does that mean you have to accept the questionable background and implications such as potential sports washing that comes with it? Erling Haaland has become one of the most beloved football superstars, but he might not be able to reach the heights he has now if he didn't have the support of the team he has at Manchester City. If you ask me, I think fundamental reform needs to be done at the core of the sport globally. The Premier League is the most watched league in the world, and due to the commercialization of the sport, it has amassed the greatest wealth and influence. The Premier League deserves its plaudits for being a well-run brand, and the truth is many of the other leagues around the world fail because of their own issues such as corruption or just in general being poorly run. But the fact remains that English football and Europe as a whole now have an oversized impact on the world of football. Pelé, one of the most legendary players in the history of the sport, basically spent his entire career in Brazil, where his legacy created the country of footballing royalty. The unique samba style, joga bonito, the beautiful game. This was all possible because Brazil could keep their unique talents and style. If you're born in the 21st century, you'll be scouted by a big European club and lured away with big money at a very young age, where you'll be forced into a system of European football, which also means the poorer countries and leagues cannot possibly retain their talent. Football is called the beautiful game, in part because of people like Pelé, like Messi, but also because it is the single biggest sport in the world. It is meant to be accessible. Everyone can get involved and anything can happen. And that's why the results of a single game can pull the heartstrings of an entire nation, make people cry, and laugh, and celebrate like nothing you've ever seen before. What's happening now is, money has taken over the game. It's created what is essentially a very capitalistic problem. A team like Manchester City embodies that problem, but also creates beautiful football, with beautiful players like Erling Haaland. The world needs to collectively come together and rebuild football's infrastructure from the ground up. This is probably not news to a lot of people, but I want to chip in with my 2 cents and analysis of the situation, and ultimately to justify why I will continue to enjoy watching the beautiful Norwegian all to myself.
If you've made it this far, firstly, thank you so much for watching the video. It also probably means that you're at least okay with the content you're seeing here. So please leave a like and subscribe to the channel. It really means a lot. And for the meantime, please check out this video for more of the similar good stuff.